amazing that we evolve, that we were built to evolve, that we were built to regenerate, that we were built to kind of have this momentum. And that in and of itself kind of made me excited about the idea that it was just such a privilege to be able to move forward. Welcome to Almost Grown Up, the podcast where we figure out life one creative detour at a time. Hi, I'm Lucy, a writer, creator, and your creative companion. Around here, we believe that play and wonder aren't just for kids. In fact, they're the tools we use to navigate life's big questions, find our way when the map we're on isn't our map, and build new possibilities in our lives. Each week in the Blanket Fort, we'll share stories, ideas, and one huge permission slip to build your own beautiful and occasionally messy life. Hey team, welcome back to the Blanket Fort. So, full disclosure, today we were going to talk about something different. But the last few weeks I have been in this moment of struggling with change, which I feel is not an uncommon adulting experience, right? And the change I'm talking about is kind of positive change. It's change that maybe you've wanted, change that you've planned for, dreamed about, worked hard for. But the point is it's still change. And I have really spent the last couple of weeks with a big change coming up in my life, and I'm moving house. You might even be able to see boxes around me because we are deep in packing. And whilst it's wonderful and exciting and something that I've wanted and something that I'm really excited about for us to do as a family, I am still really struggling with the idea of change and that letting go of the home that we have now, the house that we have now where we've been living, and the place that we are, and this sense of knowing the new chapters coming up and being like, I don't know if I want to turn the page. I really like this chapter. And I'm aware that that is an incredibly privileged place to be. But I feel like it's important to talk about how positive change is also sometimes hard, because we talk a lot about the type of change and challenges that are difficult because they're difficult, and that is a whole other thing. But when we are blessed with change that is positive and good, it doesn't mean that it's actually any less hard to change sometimes. Like, that change can still feel very emotionally tricky, because ultimately, whilst change is possibility, change is also loss. We are saying goodbye to things. And I think inherently, depending on the type of human you are, some people will find this way easier than others. I am definitely in the camp of let's just keep everything how it is and not change it because I know what that is and that's safe and cool, great. So a lot of the time in my life, I've kind of thrown myself into change to kind of like immersion therapy myself out of it, out of that feeling. But I find myself back having maybe been a bit consistent for the last couple of years in my life, and be like, oh, okay, like I've been in this place for 4 years now and I'm used to this place and I have my community here and I know what I'm doing here, and now all of a sudden you're asking me to change and I thought our period of change was over. Why are you doing this to me? This is the conversation I'm having with my brain. So I decided to think about whether I could put play and wonder to use in this context, because if I'm all about it, right, let's be actually living it. Let's actually put it to the test and see, does it work in these real life situations that we come across? Like, how do play and wonder help us? How can they help us? Or really, are there some things that's just like, this does not apply? So that is what I'm going to talk about today. And I am calling it the wonder of moving forward, because that, I think, is what I have found out in the last few weeks of experimenting with play and wonder, that actually wonder can help us reframe change in a way that allows us to both celebrate the good in what we've had and find the wonder and possibility in what is coming forward. So if you are in a moment in your life where you are having some change, which is either neutral or positive, and you are still struggling with the fact that that change is coming, hopefully this episode is going to be really helpful to allow you to just find ways in which you can make it a little bit lighter, the fact that this change is coming, and help to cut through a little bit of that emotional anxiety and all of the things that come around any type of change. So that's what we're doing today. Let's dive into the wonder of moving forward. So I don't want to recover all of the ground I just covered in the intro, but essentially what I realized was in this change, there was a lot of possibility, but there was also a lot of loss. And that feeling of saying goodbye to things was hard. So I thought, okay, how can I make this fun? Maybe I can make this fun. Maybe I can make a game out of it. Let's apply play, which is always, to be honest, my go-to first thing to do. And it worked a bit. Like, we decorated the moving boxes that we were doing. We discovered a cupboard in our house that we have had the entire time we've lived here and never used. And so now we've made a little bit of a game to make the absolute most use of that cupboard that we possibly can in our last kind of week in this house. And that's been quite fun. But I found that kind of applying these playful things and also getting excited about maybe what I could do in decorating my new space and what play I could bring, how I could kind of design play into the very core of this next place that I live. But at times it felt a little bit like toxic positivity, like a little bit of that vibe, just like this tiny edge of like, okay, cool, we're playing, but actually I'm focusing on the now, which was wonderful, and it took me into the moment and it helped me cut through, but it didn't take away this thing of like, oh, but I'm sad and we had these memories here and this feels difficult, like this change feels hard for me. And I don't know, I feel like play is useful to a point, but whenever there's that icky sense of like, oh, I'm kind of pushing myself to be positive when really like there's some stuff here that I feel sad about. Naturally, like, of course it's going to feel a loss to move away from this place that I've spent a lot of time, that I've forged so many memories, that that all of my son's first memories pretty much happen in this place. So that's a big thing to say goodbye to. And pushing it just with play felt a little bit like toxic positivity at times. So then I was like, okay, cool. Play, you have your use to a point here, and there's definitely things in building possibility, especially in the new place, in the kind of next step. But right now, right here, I think I need a bit of wonder. And the reason I say I needed a bit of wonder is because I think what wonder does so well is it allows us to hold a variety of emotions. It allows us to be overwhelmed by something beautiful and at the same time sad about the loss of that beautiful thing. That sense of like, you watch a sunrise in awe and wonder and it makes you feel amazing. But the whole time you're doing that, there's also this part that is aware that as the sun changes, like the sun is progressing through the sky, so the sunset is only the time that it's there. And by allowing us to kind of be in that present moment, not only do we soak it in more, but we also just allow ourselves to be with all of the emotions that we have about that thing. Which made me think that actually the kind of bittersweetness of a change, whether that's a house move or a job change or a country move or a relationship change, or whether you're stepping into one or stepping out of one, or a renegotiation of some kind of change in your life that is wonderful but also difficult, then actually this wonder, this holding of all these emotions at the same time perhaps might offer us a bit more than play. So I decided to dive into wonder, and this is what I discovered when I did. So the first thing I decided to do was to actually build some wonder about where I was going. And this is where this idea of the wonder of moving forward came up. Like, I was literally journaling the other morning and I was like, that's what it is. It's the wonder of recognizing that the moving forward has so much potential in it, so much possibility, so much goodness. And that framing that step forward, that step into the next adventure, rather than the step away, the kind of change, the loss, the letting go, but actually moving into where is the wonder in the moving forward of it, that next step. And just in and of itself, that framing allowed me to feel a bit of wonder. Like, isn't it amazing that we can move forward, that we can change things, that we have agency? The privilege of having that. And if you're listening to or watching this podcast, like, I imagine that you probably have some level of that privilege to have some agency in your life, in allowing change, in allowing possibility, in allowing a step forward in whatever direction that you have. And just that wonder of like, isn't it amazing that we evolve, that we were built to evolve, that we were built to regenerate, that we were built to kind of have this momentum. And that in and of itself kind of made me excited about the idea that it was just such a privilege to be able to move forward. And I think that helps, right? Not letting go of the fact that it's hard or that it feels challenging at points and has this bittersweetness to it, but also recognizing that there was so much to be grateful for, which I think what wonder does wonderfully is helps us tap into that gratitude really quickly. And then from there, I was like, okay, so this wonder has something in it. Let's put it into practice. So I took myself on a wonder walk around the new area that I'm going to live. And I was buzzing, like just stepping out into the street, seeing that there were new things that I didn't know about, finding these little corners and cafes and food shops and parks and green areas and trees and all of these bits and pieces that they kind of intellectually knew were there and have walked past in the past, but that with that sense of real wonder at, oh, I've never looked at that properly like that, or thought about this is somebody that I could walk and come and, buy my groceries from. And they look like they have really nice nectarines right now. Or this is somewhere that I could bring my child to play. And I think he'll really enjoy this different new set of slide and swing and, playground toys. And those moments of just getting to sort of daydream as I wandered, but really looking with fresh eyes, with fresh perspective at what was there. And I guess that's my first suggestion. If you are in a moment of change, if you are in a moving forward, allowing yourself to go for a bit of a wonder walk through that thing, whether it's a new place that you're going or whether it's, a new job. Maybe you can take yourself for a wonder walk around where your new office would be, or, around where you live now if you're working from home, but look at it in a different light. What will this job enable you to do in a different way? Or if it's a new relationship, like maybe it's wandering around close to where the person you're in a relationship lives. Or maybe if it's a letting go of a relationship, it's taking yourself to a new place that you've not been before and wandering through that area to go, oh, maybe I could come and visit here now. Or maybe I have a bit more space and time. I might do this, or I can change my routine in some way and that will offer me X, Y, and Z. So just getting out and allowing ourselves to move and look, I think makes a huge difference. So the first kind of practice I think I would encourage you to do if you are in that moment of change is to go out for a wonder walk. And the point of a wonder walk really is to just wander, right? And see what we see and allow ourselves to look for things that are exciting, that feel special, that feel unique or wonderful, or just a bit like, oh, okay, in that moment. And I think when we go out with the intention of finding wonder and we open ourselves up to it, we can often be surprised about how much is there. Then the next practice I tried was a little bit of creative daydreaming, a little bit of wonder hunting in my imagination. And this was more that kind of like wondering rather than wondering, I guess, but that sense of curiosity about what could I do that would feel exciting? What new possibilities could this place, could this space bring in for me that I haven't had before? And just getting curious about what was new in the house rather than what I was perhaps losing from the different place, but instead what I was gaining, what had I not experienced before in this new space, in, the way the rooms were set up, the way the light comes in, what view I can see, and just sitting and looking out of the new window for a moment to look at what the world looked like from that perspective and to daydream a little bit about what it might be like to sit there, what this orientation meant for maybe the plants that I would be able to grow in a way that I haven't had that in my current place. So I guess just allowing ourselves to get curious about what newness we can find, what possibilities we can find, what differences we can find that feel maybe exciting. It doesn't even have to be like, oh, this is 10 times better. You know, it can be like, oh, this is different. That's interesting. Like, what might I learn about myself? What could I do from that? What, just all of those questions that we can ask, and just pushing ourselves to be curious, I think really helps. And so if you are changing space, maybe just looking out of your window, or if it's a new job, looking around your new office, or a new relationship, just getting curious about what you might learn from this other person, what things that you can do in relation to them that you might not have tried before, what new date ideas you might suggest that you've never done with anyone else, or things that you've kind of been wishing to do. Or if you're newly single, or, you know, decided that is a path that you want to take, that actually you can find those things of like, oh, okay, this is, you know, something that I can do by myself. I'm going to take myself on this solo date, and I've never done that thing before, and that I could do that. That would be exciting. And just having these sort of moment of daydreaming about what's it going to look like when you step into that new chapter. And it's not necessarily going to be all of those things, and it probably 90% of those things it won't be, but some of those things it will. And just pulling that thread through, I think, can be so useful if we allow ourselves to kind of daydream and pause and be in that moment. And the other thing I did was actually to sit and do a bit of a sensory portrait of my current home, of the place that I'm leaving. And I know this isn't necessarily forward looking or moving forward, but wondering and just really stepping myself into the presence of the place I was in helped me to discover some things. Because when I sat and I thought about my sensory portrait of this place, like the culmination of all of the things I would put together over the memories that I built of what I see, what I smell, what I taste, what I hear, what I touch, I realized a lot of those things I'm taking with me. Like, some of those things are very, very unique to the place I'm at, and I really happily hold them as a wonderful memory. And I think just having that moment to kind of take that sensory portrait in time and capture it is hugely useful. But also the sounds of the birds outside and my son's babbling, I'm taking those sounds with me. There are birds down near my new house for sure, and my son is definitely coming with me to my new house. So those things of that, you know, that is a part that I'm bringing with me. And hugging my family and being together as a family playing is something I'm bringing with me. And recognizing that the really strong elements of the sensory portrait that I have in this space were mostly about the connection that I have with the people that I live with, and a little bit of the things I live around, that, you know, the things that I have. For example, love this cushion. This is the dream. It's so cozy as well. And my little blanket fort. But I'm taking all of that with me. And so I think it can be really useful to recognize, if we do those sensory portraits, not only of all of the goodness that we have in the moment that we have right now, the thing that we're moving away from, but also what we're taking with us as we move forward. Because I think that was a theme that maybe came out of the last episode or a few episodes before, where we were talking about this idea that through change, we bring ourselves with us. Like, we are bringing all of the experience, all of the things that we have done, the memories, the things we've learned, the challenges we've solved, the play we've had, the wonder we've found. We bring it all with us. And so then as we start that next chapter, as we turn that page, we have all of those things. We have all of those tools. We have all of those ideas to call on, to bring with us, to remember that we're not going to turn up in this new chapter with no words, with empty blank spaces, with nothing. We've got some pens to start drawing, and yes, we might change that story, and yes, we might draw something different, and it might not look, you know, we might be letting go of a lot of things as we turn that page, but we're bringing those tools. We're bringing the tools that we've gained from all of the things that we've experienced up until this point. And I think just allowing myself to step into that space made such a huge difference, because yes, it allowed me to feel sad about what I was leaving behind, and to really recognize how lucky I'd been to have had those experiences and those memories and to have formed that sense of sensation in this place. But also that it wasn't going to be lost. It was going to be brought with me. It was going to be packed as tools in those boxes inside me that I would be able to use to kind of color in and start writing that next page, that new chapter in the new place. And just allowing myself to both feel sad and happy at the same time, which, as I said at the start, I think is what wonder does brilliantly. It lets us hold those complex emotions. It lets us be in two places at once. I think that is such a gift. So if you are in a space of change, if you are worried about moving forward, I really hope that you find this useful and that you can find some wonder in that next step. I would love to hear what exciting thing you're moving forward to. You can leave me a comment, and if you try any of these wonder practices, let me know. I would love to hear. Just leave me a comment in anywhere you listen or watch this podcast, or you can send me a message. You can find me on Instagram or TikTok or through my website, lucylincoln.com. And tiny little bit of like admin, I guess, is that I am going to take a break for August because I am moving house, and I am hopefully going to have a few weeks break to relax and enjoy time with my son before he starts nursery in September. So we'll be off the podcast for all of August, but we'll be back in September. And in the meantime, if you would like some play and wonder, I will be sharing some different kind of play and wonder practices throughout the next month. For me, would love to make this summer a little bit of an analog summer, a little bit of a stepping away of the digital platforms and all of the screens and things like that. And I would really encourage you to do the same if that calls to you. But within that realm, if you would like to get some inspiration, I have a 7-day play and wonder challenge, which has a few different practices that you can do to start to tap into play and wonder and maybe build some of those ideas of like little playful practices or little analog projects that you could do over the next month or so to just give yourself a bit of a break, a bit of tapping into a different way of being, and a bit of an opportunity to rest, because I do think that whilst summer is full of energy, that we also need that space to rest. And if you're in the Northern Hemisphere, rest even more so, right? We are in deep winter, and so let's just allow that pause. So if you'd like to join me for a little bit of an analog summer, that would be amazing. I'm going to share some ideas of what I might be doing, and I'll be sharing a little bit on social media occasionally, obviously not a lot because that's not super analog, but popping in with ideas here and there when I am doing them. But thank you so much for being with me. I hope you've enjoyed this episode, and I look forward to being back in the blanket fort with you soon. But in the meantime, happy growing.